Why do we all, when I say we all, I mean like film lovers, why do we rely so heavily on Rotten Tomatoes? Hey everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to my little talk piece about Rotten Tomatoes, the critics site. If you're not very familiar with Rotten Tomatoes, well, I think most people are. It is a movie critic site with a rating. If a movie is 60% or higher, it has a tomato. That means it's good. It's a positive review for the critics. And if it's at 59% or lower, it is rotten. It has like the green rotten tomato, meaning the movie isn't good. It's a thumbs down. Critics don't like it. So, Rotten Tomatoes site has existed for many years. And a lot of people use it as a reference, and people use it to, see if they should go see a movie or not. That's like the go-to. Some people use Metacritic or the Cinema Score or IMDb. A lot of people use all those too, but Rotten Tomatoes is one of the most popular, probably in the whole world, one of the most popular critic sites. And why? Why do people use Rotten Tomatoes? Especially now, because The Eternals came out. Marvel's The Eternals. And it is sitting right now at a 48%. And a lot of people are not agreeing on that. Shockingly, I agree with it. I am not a huge Eternals fan. I think it actually deserves that rating. And I don't agree with Rotten Tomatoes a lot. But I agree with them on that. 48%. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that sounds about right. But people are like, no, critics are wrong. And now people are standing against Rotten Tomatoes. And they're like, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't know what they're talking about. People need to stop listening to Rotten Tomatoes. Like, they're wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I love they're now saying this. When they attack a Marvel film, that's when they get it. Like, the Marvel film. That's when they get it wrong. I'm like, well, Rotten Tomatoes have gone wrong many times. But now when it attacks a Marvel film, that's when it hits the fandom and stuff. So I find that funny and interesting. And Rotten Tomatoes sometimes gets a lot of things right, actually, which is good. But it does get a lot of things wrong, and this is not just Rotten Tomatoes' fault, but it's actually people's fault. People get too heavy reliant on Rotten Tomatoes, and movies suffer for it because sometimes good movies with bad scores, people don't want to go see them because, like, well, Rotten Tomatoes, it was bad, so I'm not going to go see it. I'm like, what? That's just stupid. Go see the movie and form your own opinion, and that's what it all comes down to. Forming your own opinion. There are many people I know personally and online that don't make up their own opinions. They do not think of their own consensus. They go right off Rotten Tomatoes. Whether they see the movie or not, they follow the consensus on Rotten Tomatoes. Why do they do that? And the easy answer is, like, they're just can't form their own opinions and they just can't think for themselves. Yeah, you could say that. Or, in my opinion, they want to seem like they're just as important and just as intelligent as the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. And, like, if they like these movies that are all certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, they seem like they have good taste in movies and they know a lot about movies, and people will want to come to them for movie opinions and stuff. And honestly, all that's wrong and full of shit. It's crock of shit. Like, film criticism and film opinions is all what that is. Opinions. It's subjective. Even Rotten Tomatoes. That is not factual. All those numbers on Rotten Tomatoes are not factual. Like, it doesn't matter that these critics love this movie. It does not mean the movie's good. And just because the critics hate the movie doesn't mean the movie's bad. That's just what they think. They're just people too. They're not gods and the most intelligent people in the world and the best moviegoers out there. No. They're just critics. They work for a magazine and they got certified fresh on a site. And they liked a movie. That's it. Like, there are people on Rotten Tomatoes that don't follow the consensus. What makes them wrong, but the people who follow the majority consensus, what makes them right. See, it's all about opinion and forming your own opinion and trusting your own opinion and not to get clouded by other judgments and to follow everyone else's consensus. Just because the majority consensus is positive doesn't mean you have to be positive. Doesn't mean you have to like a movie. So people just need to, be themselves. Just because Rotten Tomatoes says a movie's fresh or a movie's rotten doesn't mean you have to listen to them. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. Like, I know people want to feel smart and people want to feel like, oh, they know a lot about movies. I'm like, just express yourself. Say what you know. Say what you like. That's what people want to hear. Like, anyone could write scripts and use huge words, big words, and take a lot of quotes from Rotten Tomatoes and these film critics and even filmmakers and stuff and put it all together in a sentence and sound intelligent and stuff. But like, a lot of it's not their words. A lot of it's not even their own opinions. It's just the majority consensus opinions. What makes a critic and an opinion interesting is how they feel about it and how a movie affects them. That's the more interesting consensus I like to hear. And it's weird that a lot of people are going against Rotten Tomatoes now of all times because they're challenging the Eternals. And honestly, I think they're being completely fair on Eternals because everything they say about Eternals is true. It's overly long. It's boring. There's too many characters. Chloe Zhao bit off more than she could chew with this, and people are like, wow, it's because of this reason, and all those reasons they're saying is complete bullshit. I'm like, no. No. Nice try, but no. Like, Rotten Tomatoes, like, if you want to call Rotten Tomatoes out and be like, well, it's because of, like, there's a lot of diversity in Eternals, I mean, that's not true. That's not true. Like, the Black Panther is like a 96%, and that is like, Black Panther's a good movie, but it is not meant to be that good. Like, holy, come on now. So, like, Rotten Tomatoes can be very extreme one way and extreme another way and stuff. Like, shit. They gave the movie Joe Bell this year a negative review. That movie's fantastic. But again, like, when you read their actual comments, it's idiotic. And that's another thing a lot of people don't do on Rotten Tomatoes. They go on Rotten Tomatoes and they look at the score. And that's it. They see that score, that positive score, and like, the movie's good. They don't actually look at all the comments on Rotten Tomatoes. I do. I want to know what they're actually saying. And sometimes when you hear what these critics are saying, you're like, wow, why am I listening to these people? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And again, they use big words that have nothing to do with anything, just to make them seem smart and highly intelligent and very prestigious because I'm a critic on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't see, like, I have friends of mine, like, in my life that, like, they're like, this movie's great. And I'm like, you haven't seen it yet. They're like, well, it's 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie's good. I'm like, you haven't seen it yet. Like, what are you talking about? Who gives a shit if it's an 85%? You have not seen it. You cannot say the movie is good. You have not seen it. Or they're like, oh, I don't want to go see that movie. And I'm like, oh, why don't you want to go see it? Oh, it's a 40% Rotten Tomatoes. It's a shit movie. I'm like, how do you know it's a shit movie? You have to see it. Like, that's my frustration with people. Like, you can't just say a movie's terrible or a movie's good just because of Rotten Tomatoes. Like, sure, if you go see a trailer of a movie and it doesn't interest you, like, I get not going because, like, you've seen, like, clips and you see where the film kind of looks like where it's going for and that kind of story, and they're like, oh, that doesn't seem interesting to me. I'm not going to go see it. That's fine. But if you're just basing your opinion off of others' opinions, that's ridiculous. Form your own opinion, form your own consensus. Like, Rotten Tomatoes is probably always going to exist, and that's fine. And I look at Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't look at Rotten Tomatoes because I don't care about their opinions. I like to read their actual comments and actual score. I don't pay attention too much to the score. I actually read all their, like, replies and their comments and, like, who they are and where they're from, like, different magazines, different outlets. I actually like to see what they actually say about the movie. And when they actually give decent responses, I might actually listen to some of them. But a lot of them don't when you actually read them all. So Yeah, I go on Rotten Tomatoes a lot, but I rarely agree with them. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's just a gimme. Like, obviously, like, fuck. Like, Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2. Majority, everyone loved that movie. And of course, it was great and stuff. But others, no. Like, they like to move on. Like, that was a terrible film. But again, there's a lot of politics in that. And yes, no, I won't get into that. But there's a lot of politics when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes as well, because it's Hollywood, and Hollywood does lean a certain way politically. So, of course, Rotten Tomatoes leans a certain way politically. Won't get into that. I'm just saying you can use it. You can use Rotten Tomatoes to see what a movie is, just out of sheer curiosity and stuff. But that shouldn't cloud your judgment, and that shouldn't stop you from seeing a movie or going to see a movie. Don't see a movie because it's positive Rotten Tomatoes, and don't skip a movie because it's negative Rotten Tomatoes. Watch it and form your own opinions. You are an independent person. You out there watching this video. You are your own person. You are your own critic. If you like a movie, but it's like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, who gives a fuck? That is your opinion. You like it. And if someone insults you for it and says you're stupid and like it's a 0% Rotten Tomatoes, you have no good taste in movies, ignore the fuckers. Who gives a shit? Like a movie, love a movie, it's all opinion. Who cares? So yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on Rotten Tomatoes. So in the comment section below, please tell me what are your thoughts and opinions on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you follow Rotten Tomatoes? Do you go on the site? Do you agree with a lot of the numbers? Do you disagree with a lot of the numbers? Curious to know. Give me a dialogue. Comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and join the dark side.